Let's do it. So we're going to be doing the client attraction game plan. When I was talking with Sean and Paulson about this, they said one of your special sauces is the ability to put out content, get clients to come to you pre-positioned to buy. And so I'm going to be kind of pulling back the curtain and walking through exactly what we do in our agency that works so well along those lines. Do you want me just to dive right into it, Paulson?
Yeah, go for it. I've got the recording started and I've got the streaming going and everybody's on comments in the Facebook streaming. So yeah, we're ready to rock and roll.
Excellent. Is there a way to pin me, like spotlight my videos so that I'm large?
Let me do that. Spotlight for everyone. How about that?
Boom. Give me a yes if you're seeing my screen now and my big face over here. I know that sometimes this screen is a little bit hard to see. I just want to make sure. Awesome. Okay, good. So really what I'm after with this 4-day workshop for you guys is to give you a systematic approach to get new clients coming to you pre-positioned to buy month in and month out. Really, that's what I'm after. Like if after the next 4 days, you can walk away with that, just give me a yes in the comments if you feel like this was a productive use of your time. So we got 4 days. Day one, what we're doing today is the client attraction game plan. That's going to talk high level, like the key things you need to put in place to position yourself, to kind of look at the big picture. Day two, we're going to dive into the ultimate agency funnel, right? We need a funnel and a process where prospects can raise their hand, schedule in, and kind of go through a sales process with us. Specific to the agency and SaaS world, I'm going to show you kind of what's working best for us. Day three, we're going to do the cold outreach formula. Let's face it, regardless of how you prospect, regardless of how you land clients, we need a funnel, and we also need a mechanism to take strangers and kind of introduce ourselves to them, get them to raise their hands and kind of express some level of interest. And then day three, we're going to be doing the client attraction method, which is really the key strategies on how to put out content into the world, webinars, books, other content, and get prospects to come to us pre-positioned to buy. So of these, I'd love to hear like 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one are you most excited about unpacking and going deep with? Go ahead and drop that into the comments for me. Ryan Davis is agency legend. You're a legend, man. So glad to have you on here with us, and congratulations on all the great work you're doing. So let's dive into it. I like to start by really thinking about the challenges and the problem that we're looking to solve as it relates to landing clients and growing our agency. So to me, the biggest problem is, as a SaaSpreneur or digital marketing agency owner, or a hybrid kind of in between, it's getting harder and harder to get our prospects' attention, right? There's so many people selling these same services, right? Websites, SEO, pay-per-click, SaaS services, from the big companies like ReachLocal and Scorpion and Yodel and Web.com to pretty much anybody that's got a laptop, right? And so our prospects, the people we want to do business with, are getting inundated by cold emails, by cold calls, by drop-ins, and it's harder and harder to get our prospects' attention. The other thing I think is a big problem that we want to solve for is that oftentimes we have to chase the prospects down. But if we think about the standard, positioning and client acquisition strategies we learn about, usually it starts with just cold calling, just cold dropping in, maybe doing networking. And oftentimes, if you're cold calling your way into a prospect or cold emailing your way into a prospect, they might take the meeting, but you're going to have to chase them down. Give me a chase in the comments if you ever feel like, man, I'm constantly chasing prospects. And even if they do meet with me, I've got to meet with them again and again and again and again and try and get them to give us the opportunity to do something together. And I really believe that how you arrive at your prospect's door or your potential client's door is really going to determine how that relationship plays out. Usually, if all we did was chase, we're going to have a hard sale, right? They're going to be like, okay, look, I'll give you 2 minutes of my time, but you need to show me what you're going to do. You need to make me an amazing guarantee. You need to do something crazy, right? And so when we have to chase prospects and when there's a hard sale, what inevitably happens is we have a low close ratio, right? We have to have so many more appointments and we have to work so much harder to get the deals we want, to have the deal flow and the growth. Just put a percentage in the comments if you feel like, man, sometimes it feels like I have to just make so many meetings for me and my team in order to hit our targets.
So Josh, I got a question for you. Like, do you see that it's difficult for leads that you chase to have them be chased in every single step of the way, for appointments, for contracts, for proposals, for payments? And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but do you feel that that chase is relevant throughout the entire sales cycle, not just the beginning?
100%. Yeah, if you had to chase them to get them, you're not in a powerful position. And so you're probably going to have to chase them to get them started and kicked off. And then you're going to have to chase them to get the third payment, the fifth payment, the sixth payment if you're lucky. And so, yeah, this doesn't just apply to landing clients. It also applies to retention and to getting paid. So I like that question. That's a great point, Chase. So bottom line, right, there's some challenges here. And the fact is, if we can't land clients on a consistent basis, right, and we can't land them in a way that, makes it easier for us, you're not going to be able to grow your business. You're not going to be able to grow the agents. You're not going to be able to grow the SaaS revenue in the way that you'd like. And so I'd love to hear from a couple of you guys here in the comments. As you think about landing clients, getting appointments, getting sales, doing demos, what's the biggest challenge, right? Just a couple, put challenge and then a colon, and then whatever it is that you're dealing with as you look to grow your agency. And so I want to shift to the opportunity. And really, this is what we're going to unpack today. This is what we're going to unpack over the next 4 days. In my mind, as opposed to chasing prospects, we want to have them raise their hands, right? We want to, if we're doing cold outreach, we want to do it in a way that arrives in their inbox positioned a little bit differently, right? We want to have them express some level of interest because either they saw some piece of content or they watched a webinar or they were exposed to a case study so that they're raising their hand. And ultimately, so that they're coming to you pre-positioned to buy. Like, you're not chasing them down. They're coming to you. They're scheduling it on your calendar. They're leaning in a little bit. And so hopefully this makes sense. You notice this dynamic. Obviously, if they come to you in this way, because let's say they watched a webinar where you shared some valuable piece of information, and they're like, okay, this person has something that I need. Or they listen to an interview that you do with somebody that's successful in the niche that you service. And they're like, wow, okay, this person knows what they're doing. They've got some proven results. If they schedule in with you after that, as opposed to a cold call, can you see that that's going to be a much different proposition, right? Your sales resistance is going to be so much lower. Your close ratio is going to be higher. Of course, it's going to be easier to win those deals. It's going to be easier to retain those clients. Just give me a why in the comments if you're clear on that. This is what we're looking to solve for today. Shift from chase to having clients come to us pre-positioned to buy.
And I see a few people raising hands and things like that, which is great. We are going to do a Q&A session in certain segments of the program as well, okay?
Yeah, interject on me as much as you want, Paulson, and I'll try and address every question that comes in. And so really what we're after, right? We want plenty of new appointments with qualified prospects and consistent deal flow, right? So we can hit our goals, we can hit our targets, we can accomplish what we're after in our businesses. So I told my story a little bit. I'm just going to kind of briefly tell you. I started my first agency back in 2004, and it failed. I had the wrong model. I was only doing cold calling and kind of B&I meetings and things like that to get clients. After 4 years of working 60-hour weeks and making no money, I had to shut it down and go get a regular job, which as an entrepreneur, all of us, that's like the ultimate fear, right? To have to go out and put our tails between our legs and get a job. I took that failure. I went and got a couple of jobs in sales and business development roles. I wound up working for a company called Reach Local. Love them or hate them. At the time, they were one of the biggest pay-per-click management companies in the industry. They were doing almost $500 million per year. And I worked there about a year and a half and kind of saw what they were doing different with really what they were delivering, right? They weren't delivering a website and hosting. They were delivering a monthly retainer fee with deliverable results, right? And you can question whether that was deliverable or not, but I worked there. I saw the model. I said, okay, now I think I've got something I can do different. Started my agency, Click Incorporated, back in 2011. We grew to 7 figures in the first 2 years. Like I said, we're currently doing about $420,000 in monthly recurring revenue today. Made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies 4 years in a row. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you is exactly what I've done in my business to shift from chasing prospects down to having clients come to us pre-positioned to buy. And over the years, I've also been able to help a lot of other agencies kind of take this model, put it in place in their business, and have seen them get significant results and kind of accelerate to 7 figures and multiple 7 figures and beyond. So let's get right into it. I want to show you guys a model, and I want to make sure, Paulson, can you guys see my screen here with the?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, cool. So I'm not going to draw this out, but I want to explain it conceptually and kind of walk you guys through this. So this is the client attraction method, and there's really 3 key elements to this client attraction method. There's your funnel, right? We have to have a place to put prospects in where they're being exposed to some level of value, whether it's content, whether it's a case study or a guide. We want to have a funnel that takes them from interested to scheduled to client, right? We need that funnel. The next thing we want to do is we want to build authority, right? I think this is where a lot of SaaSpreneurs and agencies get tripped up. They want to go straight either to a funnel and then or straight to a cold call and try and land clients. But the fact is, if you don't have any authority, nobody wants to do business with you, right? Everybody wants to deal with somebody that's got proven results in their type of business, right? They want to deal with the expert, and people are willing to pay a massive premium to work with experts. So we want to develop our authority, ways that we found. I'll kind of be unpacking that for you. And then the third thing is we have to have flow, right? We need to be bringing prospects into our funnel, having them be exposed to our authority so that we can get that consistent deal flow at the bottom of the funnel. So as it relates to the funnel, tomorrow we're going to be going into the ultimate agency funnel. I'm going to be walking you through the exact process. But really, we want a lead magnet or lead magnets, things that are interesting and valuable to our prospects so that they can opt in. We need an appointment funnel where they can schedule in, and not just schedule in, but kind of get warmed up and come pre-positioned. And then we need a nurture sequence, right, which takes them through those steps. It takes them from opted in to scheduled, takes them from scheduled to actually signing on the dotted line, whatever that is for you, whether that's filling out a credit card form or signing a contract. To build authority, right? There's a lot of different things we can do to build authority. The 3 basic tenets of authority development we found are podcasts and webinars. There are lots of different ways to do podcasts, but showing up and delivering value on webinars, not sales webinars, but value-based webinars on a monthly basis, and then syndicating them will quickly position you as the expert in your space. Publishing a book and speaking, right? Being the person at the front of the stage or the person that published the book. This is my book for the plumbing space, How to Triple Your Sales by Getting Your Internet Marketing Right. When people see that you're the author and that you've got value to provide in specific to them, you're going to have expert status. And then the third is case studies, right? Anybody can talk about how to do it. Anybody can publish information about how to do it. But when you have proven results where you can show this is the client, this is the results they've gotten, this is what we did, and here's the client talking about their experience and the impact that had. When you develop this level of authority, this is how you're going to get clients coming to you and leaning in well in advance, right? We're not authority just to pump ourselves up, authority that actually adds value to the marketplace. And then from there, we have to tap into flow, right? We've got to bring people into the funnel. We've got to expose people to our authority. And we do that through cold outreach. And I know that seems counterintuitive, but cold outreach done in the right way that kind of leads with value in advance can be very effective, right? Because you have to introduce yourselves to a pocket of prospects in order for this to work. Ads, right? We think about Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, lots of ways to kind of show up for the people that are already in the market and or get our message in front of them. And then often overlooked in the digital marketing agency space is joint ventures and associations, right? So tapping into relationships that already exist for the kind of clients we want to work with, and the organizations and associations that already have group meetings and things that are happening. In a nutshell, this is the client attraction method. When you've got your funnel established, you've built your authority, and you've got the right flow, you really can have as much client growth as you want. I want to pause there. Anything you want to add on this, Paulson?
Well, I have a question for you, and I'm thinking about a lot of those folks that are just absolutely brand new starting out. Like, Josh, I love what you're saying, but they're going to be like, well, I'm brand new to dentistry or plumbing or real estate. Like, how do I just assume authority and just start saying a bunch of things? Or, even case studies, like just having one case study is not going to make me feel confident about my fulfillment. Like, what are your thoughts to, have people like that launch?
Yeah, I think if you're just getting started, the best thing to do would be to get a couple of clients, at least one. Like you said, you don't have to, don't feel like you have to go and publish a book and do all this stuff. This is authority that you're going to develop over time. But if you've got one legitimate client in the space and you go deep, you understand their average transaction value, you understand the types of work that they do, their profit margins, and you can get one really good case study. I think that's enough authority to really go to market. Now, what I don't encourage is to pretend like, some people say, pretend like you've got it until fake it till you make it. I think go get a client. In my case, I worked with a company called Town Plumbing in Fort Lauderdale. He paid me something, but it wasn't my full fee. I set him up. I did my thing, right? I'm not going to get into the specifics on what we did, but we proved this client, we were able to do this for him. And this is what happened. He was able to add 3 technicians and he was able to grow. And on the back of that one case study, we were able to go out and get a bunch of other plumbers in the Florida area and the Southeast market. And so that's the way I would encourage somebody starting out. Don't feel like you have to do all of this right out of the gates. Think about this is long-term where you want to go, but focus on one great client case study that you can just knock it out of the park for.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it because I'm just gonna assume a couple of these questions that are coming my way after.
Yes. 100%. Good to keep pressing forward.
Yep, let's go forward. Anybody else have any questions that are in the group, in the Zoom group? If you want to unmute, have any questions, you can do that in the next 30 seconds. Raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
Give me the one in the comments here if you're tracking along with me as well.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and press forward, Josh.
Yes. All right. 5 key principles on this. So number 1 is we want to set up the funnel and the flow, right? We want to make sure that we've kind of mapped out, this is how we're going to get their attention. This is what we want them to do first. This is what we want them to do second. And this is the outcome that we're after. I'm going to go in depth on this, on kind of how it's structured and how you can build this in high level tomorrow, but ultimately starts with the clear niche, right? I think anybody, a SaaSpreneur or digital marketing agency knows the fastest way to grow your business is to be in one particular market. Like we work with plumbing and HVAC companies. That's our niche. Opt-in, we want to put something of value out in front of them. Lots of lead magnets you can use. I'm a big fan of the book because it's something that has tangible value to it. Cheat sheets, guides, case studies, things like that work really well. We want something that they can say, hey, I want that, and enter their name and email address for. From there, usually as a SaaSpreneur or an agency, right, we're going to need to either move them through a sales process or we're going to need to move them through a demo, right? There's a demo process. We're going to show them, hey, here's what we're going to do. Here's how it's going to work. Do you want to do business? Yes or no? And so we want almost everything after they opt in to lead them to the appointment, right? Which is we'll schedule in Thursday at 3:00. And what we want to make sure we do with the appointment, obviously, we want to add it to a calendar and we want to send a reminder via email and text message. But there's a lot of meat and potatoes that can be added right here to warm them up, right? To say, hey, here, before we meet, watch this little video that explains, some results we've gotten from other clients. Watch this case study where I'm interviewing one of the clients that got great results. If we can get them to kind of get a little bit of value and kind of be even further positioned before that meeting, the better. And then I think you also want to have a hot lead follow-up sequence, which is at the bottom of the funnel. For those prospects you meet with, that say, yes, I'm interested, but for whatever reason, they need to talk with a partner, they need to look at something else, and we all want a one-call close. We all want to close that business right off the fact, but we should also engineer when those people don't sign up right on the moment. We've got a sequence that follows up after, hey, thanks so much for your time. Hey, per our conversation, here's what we're going to do. Hey, here's the next step. Hey, let's go ahead and schedule back in. I'm going to unpack this further, but conceptually, give me a yes if this makes sense. This is the kind of funnel that we want. We want to have it be to a specific niche, give them something to opt in for, get them to appointment, and then have a hot lead follow-up. At the bottom, you should get clients giving you their credit card details and signing up for that monthly SaaS service or for that monthly recurring revenue. So for us, this is the way it looks. Right now, our main lead magnet is our book. Our secondary lead magnet is our checklist, right? We've got the ultimate online marketing checklist for plumbing and HVAC contractors. And it's a one-page thing. The thing I like about the checklist is that it feels like I can kind of check through this thing and find the one or two little nuggets that I need that are going to help me get better results. Doesn't always have to be super complicated. You get a checklist done in like 15 minutes and have a great lead magnet that's ready to go, that's impressive for your prospects. From there, depending upon how you vet your prospects, you want to take them through, hey, thanks for requesting that thing. It's going to be awesome. But if you're like most plumbing and HVAC companies, you probably want some help with this. You want somebody that can implement it and show you what's wrong, what you're missing there on the checklist. If that's you, let's go ahead and schedule a time, right? Let's schedule a time where we'll look at where you're at right now, talk about the opportunities, and show you what we can do to help move you forward. In our world, we've got a video, we've got a little pre-screen questionnaire because we want to know that they're doing a certain amount of revenue and that they're actually in the niche that we're in. And then they get access to our calendar to book in, assuming they're qualified. And then we want to have a sequence, right, of emails through high level, via email, via text message, probably some direct mail as well, to move them through those steps, and especially the hot lead follow-up. So this is after you've met with that prospect, they seemed really interested, but for whatever reason, they didn't say yes. I know a lot of people just say, abandon those opportunities. They weren't that interested. We find a lot of our deals come in after the second, third, fifth week. And so having a sequence of emails, we drop a shock and awe package on them that's automatic, and then a sequence of emails that's pulling them back into the conversation so that we can have the next step conversation.
So Josh, I have a question for you. Here's what I'm understanding. You're saying build up the audience so you start having authority a little bit, so you don't have to pound them on sales and do the hope for best approach anymore. You're really positioning yourself on that first call to be able to go in with a lot of authority on that tonality. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's the objective, right? The objective would be obviously get their attention, but get their attention is having them see you as an expert, a person of influence, so that you're going to have a good conversation of mutual respect.
Got it. And for those of you that are just jumping in, I see a few people that are just jumping in. How has this worked out for you, Josh? Like, I know this is one of your golden, methods, the Trojan horse, get them in the door and build out that authority. Help us understand the numbers of what this looked like.
So, I mean, for us, like, we were able to grow our agency to $430,000, $420,000 in monthly recurring revenue. Everybody comes through this process, right? The baseline is the funnel and the positioning, and then we fill it up with prospects via some of the channels I'm going to talk about here in a second.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. So hot lead follow-up, what is that? Is that a package that they're getting? What's going on there?
So hot lead follow-up is right after you meet with the prospect. You've had a great conversation or a demo, right? And they're like, this sounds good. Send me a follow-up email or give me some additional details. Obviously, two things in that scenario. You want to ask for the business and try and answer the objections, obviously, right? The other thing is we want to set our next appointment right there, right? All right, listen, if you're serious, let's schedule to meet, next Tuesday at 3:00, right? Let's get that on the calendar. But then there's still going to be like 60 to 70% of the people you meet with that say, all right, I'm still interested. I'll be back in touch. And this hot lead follow-up is a sequence of emails and communication, as well as a package we drop in the mail to pull them back to the next meeting to get them excited about actually taking the next step to move things forward.
Looks like Steve Garrison have a question. Steve, if you want to unmute yourself as we just pound through these steps, feel free to do that now. Thanks for raising your hand.
Can you hear me?
Steve, yep.
Okay. Well, this kind of relates to what you had said earlier. If you're not already established, how do you get all of this marketing material to send out?
I think it's something you build up over time, right? I mean, I think you could start with as basic a funnel as something like a checklist, right? That way you're adding value in advance, a basic appointment funnel where they can schedule in on your schedule and kind of get the reminder sequence. And then over time, you're looking to knock it out of the park for your clients. You're looking to position yourself head and shoulders better than their options, right? And you do that by having proven results, by having this type of collateral. Sean Tiberio just posted in here, this method helped us more than double in the last 7 months, which is awesome. Like, so this isn't easy. I'm not saying like you can just flip a switch and, you know, click this into high level, but over time, if you want to be an established agency that can land clients on demand and can be the go-to player in your market, this is the type of work that will position you really, really well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, also, Steve, one of the things that I did early on with my dental agency was I would interview dentists to speak to dental practices about clinical stuff. It had nothing to do with marketing. They'll jump on my profile and they'll literally talk about how they hate, what is that one company, Right Club Smile, of how this is not this and that. And they'll literally will start giving you content. Every interview that you have could be turned into a white paper. A podcast could be turned into a blog. A video could be turned into an audio file. Like, there's so many different creative ways to repurpose content as you get your comfortable zones, okay?
Good stuff.
Yeah.
There's one more question here, Himanshu, and then after that we'll go through the next slide. Himanshu, if you're there, do you have a question?
Yeah, hey Josh, lovely to have you here.
Pleasure.
And for starters, I have read your book, Seven-Figure Agency Roadmap, and we have been following this book from past 6 months, and we have doubled our revenue in the past 6 months.
Well done.
And it has been working really great for me. So it's like everyday mantra for me. I'm hearing this book every day on Audible.
Amazing.
And we are still facing a few issues, Josh, like you said about the lead magnet. And right now we are serving India, APAC region. But at the same time, when we are trying to, book appointments for US, UK, and other countries, so we are facing few issues like, they are raising concerns that we are not in their countries, and even if they want to meet us, and such kind of concern. Do you think that would be an issue for us going forward, covering this US, UK, and other markets, other countries for us?
I think it depends upon how good your results are, right? I mean, we have clients all over the country. We have clients in the UK, from the United States and Canada, and we don't meet with clients face to face, right? It's all done via Zoom. And I believe, like, if you've got proven results and you've got a methodology, it's not going to be as easy as it is for somebody in the same country, but it's definitely possible.
All right, and do you want us to register in another countries? Like we are already registered in US and UK as LLC and limited companies. So do you want us to go ahead and register in all of those countries? And how does it work going forward? Because right now we are somewhere around 40,000 revenue on monthly recurring revenue, and we want to increase it to 200,000 till this year end. So going forward to scale this, do you want us to register in all of the countries and or take all of the payments in India itself?
So Josh, can I answer that if that's okay with you?
Yeah, that'd be great, Paul. So go ahead.
Himanshu, I want, if you don't mind, I want the questions to be relevant to the slides that we're at. What you're asking is more of the legal strategy question of how to position yourself. So if you're an international agency, the recommendation I always have is to partner up with an agency in the US that's already in the market instead of going directly to the first world countries. I've seen agencies thrive that way, where they're partnering up with the Josh Nelson or Rob Bailey or whoever who's an authority in those spaces. So that way they don't have to create those authorities, directly. Now, the strategic question, we can come back to that question, but
Right.
Josh, if you don't mind, let's go to the
Right.
hot lead follow-up. And what you're doing is that you're getting on a Zoom call, interesting them into a prospecting message, and you're sending them something. And what's in that package, the priority mail? It's just material that positions you as a authority again. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, so this would be actually for right after you meet with that prospect. So they have a great sales process with you. They're really interested. Now you're dropping, if you have a copy of the book, if you have some testimonials, if you have a visual that maps out the flow. So they're like, wow, you did something the average agency owner doesn't, right? You had a great conversation. You followed up in the mail with something physical, and you moved them to the next step. That's really the idea behind this hot lead follow-up process.
Okay, great. So what happens after that? Let's go ahead and press forward.
Yeah, let's keep going. So we want to have our funnel established. So that's the first thing, the funnel and the flow, like really start with the end in mind. And we're going to be going much deeper on that funnel tomorrow, showing you the landing pages and the kind of the flow of the copy and what the package looks like. The second thing we want to do is we want to build authority. I talked about this in the model, but really what we want is for them not to look at us as a blind email that showed up on their inbox or a cold email or cold call that happened on their phone. Ideally, we want to become omnipresent in our niche, right? Which you can only really do in a niche, right? If you're in plumbing or roofing, you're in HVAC, you can become known in that space. And you do that through being at trade shows and events. You do that through publishing content. You do that through podcasts and webinars. And really, we're going to unpack this in the client, the client attraction method, which we're going to do on day 4. But just know, like, you want to be thinking about positioning yourself and putting out content that makes you the authority. And so, for us, like, the main thing is monthly webinars is extremely powerful, right? Not sales webinars, but showing up, hey, I'm going to talk today about whatever, right? The ultimate, lead magnet for your niche, right? And how it works and how to set it up. The importance of missed call text backs, right? Show up, do value-added content specific to your vertical, syndicate it out. I'll explain all this in depth, but show up, provide great value, and you can really establish great positioning. Number 3 is to go multi-channel, right? And just philosophically, there's lots of ways to land clients. We don't want to just do one. We don't want to just do cold calling. We don't want to just do Facebook ads. We want to have a diversified client acquisition strategy. So number 4 is we want to fill the funnel, right? We want to have different ways to get prospects into our world, to raise their hand, to express interest, to kind of come in and enter our world. I'm gonna unpack the 5 key client acquisition strategies that have worked best for us in our agency and the other agencies that we work with. And when you think about client acquisition, there's lots of different ways to get clients, but at the end of the day, it's really boils down to a couple of key strategies. The first would be cold outreach, right? And that's usually where we start in our agencies. Paulson, you said, like, I'm just getting started. I don't have a book yet. I don't have a lead magnet yet. Absolutely, you can do cold outreach. And the beautiful thing about cold outreach is we can get a list, we can start sending emails, we can start making calls tomorrow, right? There's no gestation period. And usually your first handful of clients are going to come from cold outreach, right? Just dropping in, making phone calls, making personal connections. Now, that's the lowest authority position way to land clients, right? I mean, much different if they see a webinar or watch a case study, then they get a cold call from you. But this is a definite plan, something you want to do as part of your overall growth strategy. The second would be marketed lead generation, right? As digital marketing agencies, this is what we do for our clients. We need to make sure we're eating our own dog food, right? And what works well? Running Facebook ads, running Google ads, running YouTube ads to your targeted audiences, putting out relevant content, offering them that little incremental step, which is your case study, your guide, your valuable content. Marketed lead generation works really well. It's extremely scalable. It's relatively high leverage, but you have to have some money to spend, right? You're not going to, as an agency, spend $100 and generate clients, right? You're going to have a couple $1,000s a month to test and to get this dialed in. But all of us should have a marketed lead generation approach somewhere in our client acquisition strategy. Number 3, probably my favorite, is inbound marketing, right? Inbound marketing is you put out good content, you put on webinars and put together information that adds value. Prospects get it. Either they watch it, they read it, they consume it, and they're like, oh, this is good, right? And they enter your world. And you want to make sure that the content you put out leads them to your funnel. It either leads them to the appointment, or it leads them to an event, or it leads them to a webinar, so that eventually they can become a client. I say it's my favorite because inbound marketing is very low cost, right? It just takes your energy and your ability to go out and put the content out. It's very high positioned, right? If they come to you inbound, that's the best client that you can get. But it's not perfect, right? You can't just start doing inbound marketing today and have clients coming out tomorrow, right? There's a gestation period to it. Like if you wanted to grow a tree, You don't just drop a seed and then put some water and tomorrow you've got a big tree bearing fruit, right? You have to plant that seed. You've got to water it. You've got to wait for the sun to hit it, right? Just like inbound marketing, it takes that time and that energy to build up. But I can tell you, once that tree is built and once that tree is grown, it will bear consistent positive fruit. Number 4 is associations and speaking opportunities. I think this gets overlooked a lot in the digital marketing agency world. The reality is there's, in whatever niche you might choose, there's associations, there's gatherings happening, there's masterminds, there's groups. If you can figure out ways to affiliate with those associations, find ways to speak at those associations, find ways to add value to those associations to become known in that space, whether that's through content or whether that's through exhibiting or whether it's just participating in some way. To me, the combination of associations and speaking, inbound marketing and marketed lead generation is an extremely powerful effect for landing clients. I'd love to see like one in comments if you're actively involved in your industry association or you're like actively looking for ways to speak at the next industry conference, specifically for the clients that you want to work with. If not, I think this is a big opportunity. Dallas Ship says one. I know some of the most successful members in our program, this is their main play, right? They're just super active in the association and it works extremely well. And then number 5 is JVs, joint ventures, finding people that are already doing business with the clients that you want and aligning with them, right? Saying, hey, look, I've got something your clients need, and figuring out whether it's rev share or whether it's going to be you're going to pass business to them, they're going to pass business to you. Jay Abraham is famously quoted as, you're just one joint venture away from $1 million business. I know for a fact you're just one joint venture away from a 7-figure agency or 7-figure SaaS business. If you can really be looking for those opportunities and looking for win-win relationships, it can be huge. Paulson, anything you want to add on this, like 5 key client acquisition strategies?
Yeah, so in 2016 or so, I remember there was this massive stem cell conference, and I was helping out another agency owner at the time, and they were trying to figure out stem cell. And this conference, you know, they didn't take marketers seriously. It was like a clinical conference, essentially, for a bunch of chiros and stem cell guys and docs to come together. So they're not trying to give a spotlight or like, you know, a stage time to a random marketer while there's plenty in the sea, right? So what this guy did, well, one of my partners at the time, what he did was reached out to the confirmed speakers and just offered to just handle all their marketing for them or all their sales component for them and didn't ask for anything in return. It got to the point where they would feel bad if they didn't mention you for them to be, you know, on the stage successfully, right? So they would just subtly be like, hey, if you need help with marketing, obviously you go to a guy like Paulson in this industry. And that's all it takes as a small little comment for you to land 5-6 clients in a scenario like that. You have somebody that's already in authority speaking highly of you, even though you don't have that session as a speaker. So don't take these events very lightly. Figure out, even if you cannot get on the speaker slot or whatever, figure out how to leverage others, figure out how to sponsor a company that has that spotlight, and that's also another entryway in for you to become an authority in person. If you want to unmute yourself, Josh.
So good. Yeah, really appreciate that example. And I think a lot of us default when we think about, you know, agency growth and SaaS growth, cold outreach. Like there's so much information about cold outreach, but really the bigger opportunity, the lower hanging fruit is in these other approaches, especially the joint ventures and the speaking opportunities, at least from what I've seen, what worked well for us and what worked well for the other agencies that we've seen not only grow quickly, but actually grow and retain their business and continue to have growth and momentum in their business. Give me some feedback, guys. Give me a yes in comments if you're tracking along and this is useful. Just a spelled out yes. Sean Tiberio says, yes, I love my associations that we're involved with. Excellent. Okay. Number 5 is we have to work the pipeline. right? I think this also gets overlooked. We've got our funnel, we've got our authority, we've got prospects scheduling in our appointment. We want to take them through a consultative sales process or a really strategic demo. I know Paulson's got some great examples of the like demo scripts that work really well if you're just selling this as a SaaS. But when you think about the flow that a prospect's going to go through before they become a client, ideally, we're either sending a good email that gets their attention, or we're putting out content that gets their attention, or they see us at an event and they raise their hand, right? They say, hey, I'm kind of interested. What we found works well is to have a discovery call of some sort, just a quick conversation. Hey, tell me about your business. Tell me about your goals. Tell me about what you're looking to accomplish. That way you can see, like, do they have a need? Is what we can bring to the table going to be a fit? And if it is, then move it to a strategy session or a demo call. For us, a strategy session is really, let's go deep. Let's figure out where you're at, what your goals are. Let's look at what you've tried before. Let's look at what's going well. Come to the meeting having done some due diligence. Hey, I looked at this, that, and the other. I looked at your website. I looked at your current rankings. I looked at your current paid strategy. And here, based on what you're telling me, here's where the deficiencies are, right? If your goal is to go from 1.2 million to 2 million over the next 12 months, I think we need to be more aggressive with the SEO. Here's some keywords we're not ranking for. I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive with the paid strategy. And here's some things we would do differently. Here's some examples of what we've done with other clients, the results they've gotten. Obviously, checking in for value that entire process, and then asking for the business. Hey, if this makes sense and you think I'm the right fit, should we move forward? Yes? Okay, great. And then having that hot lead follow-up process in place. For those ones that don't say yes just yet, schedule the next appointment, have a sequence of emails that pull them back into the conversation. I like to have an engineered countdown. Like, we don't want to have an open-ended pipeline where it's like everyone we meet with might eventually become a client. We like to say, hey, listen, I understand you might need to talk with a partner. Can we agree that we make a decision sometime in the next 2 weeks? Right? And usually they'll say yes. So now we can engineer a countdown out to 2 weeks, all the way to the point of, hey, you know what? It's been 2 weeks. I can only assume you've decided not to move forward. Thanks so much for the time. If there's anything I can do in the future, let me know. I find that disconnect process at the end moves a lot of the people that were thinking about going forward to the next level. So really just think about this process and this flow. And I think a lot of agencies miss, believe it or not, this raised hand piece. A prospect will write back, yeah, I'm kind of interested. And then instead of jumping on the phone and scheduling the appointment, they'll go back and forth on email, or they'll wait till tomorrow to get back. Like, really, you have to be quick on all of these steps within the process. Paulson, anything you want to add or any insights on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I observe from agencies is that they focus so much on the tech piece and the fulfillment, and they don't care. They don't build a system for themselves well enough. They're just focused on clients so much, right? You have to have a sales cycle that's planned out, guys. You cannot just shoot and hope for the best that something's going to happen. Somehow a client's going to call you one day and be like, hey, here's $3,500. That's not going to happen unless you ask for the sale. How do you ask for the sale? When they want to be asked for the sale, right? You wouldn't even know that unless you manage the pipelines properly. And one big takeaway from me, Josh, from what you just said is when you have that cutoff on the hot lead follow-up, it also positions you as an authority, as if like, hey, listen, it's okay if you say no. I've got other businesses that I got to take care of. It's like a subtle flex almost. It's like it's just too much truck for you today. Sorry. Like, come back to me when you're ready, right? And I like that.
100%. Lady's asking, are you saying as soon as they open the email, would you call them? Yeah, I think especially early in the process, if you're doing the cold outreach as your main mechanism, you want to be Johnny on the spot, right? If they open it, if they reply to it, call. They don't answer, send the follow-up, right? Prioritize the people that have engaged with your communication more, right? Move them into a different stage in your pipeline and emphasize the people that have recently responded or engaged with what you put into place. So I'd love to kind of check in for questions or any key insights at this point. Like, any questions? We kind of talked about the big picture, the 5 key strategies, the key things we want to put in place to get clients to come to us pre-positioned to buy. Any questions or insights?
Yeah, if you raise your hands, if you're in the Zoom call, we can just cater to you. Bob Gila, let's go.
Bob, I see that you're speaking, but you're muted. So if you could unmute real quick.
There you go.
Hey, Bob.
Are we good? Hey, sorry about that. I got a hoarse voice also. I'm on track with everything you're saying, and I thank you very much for your insight. My only challenge is I'm a life insurance and health insurance agent in 14 different states already. Been in business for 19 years. Well, I've got developers. We're developing this system here in the last 2 months. So I've got enough content, authority, everything. My challenge is really understanding if the SaaS is going to work for me. I'm regulated and I don't know what kind of service I can actually even sell to individuals. So I'm looking at this product or this software to really market certain products, which is going to be insurance-based products, to clients and then cross-sell them accordingly. But quite frankly, almost digitally. A lot of clients currently are speaking with agents directly. They're getting tired of it and they want to make their own decisions online. So I'm taking a step back and saying, well, I'm going to do just the opposite. I'm going to give them exactly what they're looking for. So I don't know how I can really sell a monthly service, quite frankly. And your thoughts would be helpful, or if any other clients that you think are in the same industry would be helpful. Thank you.
Paulson, you want to hop in on this one?
Yeah, when you say, are you thinking SaaS or are you thinking SaaS hybrid as agency services? Where is the context of your thoughts coming from, Bob?
Not real clear on the question. Selling a monthly service, I don't see that very applicable in what I'm doing.
So Bob, to be clear, you don't run an agency, you're an insurance agency, and you're trying to figure out if you could sell a monthly recurring or leverage high level to sell more of your insurance services.
Correct, and I'm currently doing that, and I'm understanding that, but I don't know how I can transition that into selling monthly services for what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think, go ahead, Paulson. I see you unmuted, so I'll let you.
Yeah, so what you're doing for yourself as a business owner, somebody would probably find value. So it's just really figuring that out with like a small beta, figuring out what are those packages and offers that you can create, because you obviously found value for yourself in using high level or some sort of a marketing strategy, didn't you?
I do. The process of this, yes, of marketing individuals as a platform, yes. But again, they're not my products. They're state regulated and very HIPAA compliant. I was a financial advisor years ago, and even right there, I could probably sell some kind of service, but it's so regulated that I don't see, unless it's something completely different, which can tie into this. So yeah, I'm just struggling with that, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, Bob, what I would probably do is get with the marketing agency and strategize with them and see how you can go to market. That's probably going to be the best solution. I'm not an expert, and I don't think Josh is an expert for, those industries. What you want to do is find somebody who's already in that market and see I've got a 19-year run rate of a resume that I can bring to the table, and you have information that these agencies probably don't have. So I would say that's probably the first step that I would explore.
Yeah, I would agree too. All right, great. Thanks, guys.
And guys, if you're on live and you specialize in the life insurance or insurance industry, reach out to Bob, and that might be a good conversation.
Yeah, let's go with Dallas and then Vlad, and then we'll move on to the next points.
Hey, Josh, what's up, man?
What's up, Dallas?
Appreciate your time today. So are there any sort of intricacies that cause we work with like mid-market size companies, so it's not like the small business owner that we get the decision makers. I feel like we waste a lot of time trying to get the right decision maker on a call. So is there anything that in your system that you would address any differently when you're going after these mid-market companies versus small companies?
I think you got to decide who the decision maker is ultimately going to be. Like in our world, working with plumbing HVAC companies that do $1 million to $10 million per year, there's usually the owner that makes the bottom line decision. There may be a marketing manager involved. In our world, we would want to get that marketing manager and the owner, right, to make a decision. It might be in these larger mid-sized companies that you're talking about that the marketing manager makes the decision, in which case you just want to target most of your content and your stuff to that particular person, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Okay. So we've been we just started doing some more cold email stuff that we're, getting ramped up, dealing with all the warming up domains and all that good stuff. So we've seen pretty decent open rates. We just went live with it last week. We're getting like 30% open rates, but I just, I didn't know if anything else that you, from your particular system that you thought might work well. We're starting to build more relationships with other people who have that distribution as well. So I think that's probably our two main focuses. But just want to get your feedback.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say is like, don't just do email. Like if you're warming up emails, do email, look that person up on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn probably in your space, connect with those people. I find that when you call them, email them, and connect with them socially, you're much more likely to get their attention to have a conversation.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Let's go with Vlad, and then we'll go to the next points.
Hi, thanks for everything that you've shared so far. Really appreciate everything. It was great. My question is, what would you suggest? What strategy would you suggest if there are no case studies? How would you suggest to move the conversation from the prospect when it's cold to convert basically them into client?
So, I mean, I my personal opinion is if you don't have any results for clients, you need to go get some results, right? So I would be completely forthright at the beginning, reaching out to these industries. Hey, I'm thinking about starting a business or a SaaS specifically for life insurance companies. Here's hypothetically what I think we could do. I'd love to make you my case study client and kind of test this process and get proof of concept. Would you be okay with that? Get their buy-in. I think if you go hat in hand like that to your first 10, 15 prospects, you're going to get one that says, yeah, I'll do this with you, right? And then you've got to put all your focus on knocking out of the park, right? You don't want to be just like a fluff piece saying, oh yeah, I can do this, and selling people something that you don't have proven, right? That's what the case study does, is it validates your offering and helps you get a proven program that you can go out and sell. I think, Paulson, it looked like you wanted to add to that as well.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to want to buy something that they don't believe in. And what's even crazier is it's going to be hard for you to sell something you don't believe in because you've never knocked it out of the park. So if you want to get better at sales, you got to trust and believe in a product or a service that you can stand by no matter what happens. So honestly, even if you wanted to go to the market, I just don't see you being successful because it's really hard from a psychology perspective to go sell something that you don't see results in. So either way, I'm with Josh on it. Go get the results that you need to go hard on the market. And I actually had a young lady earlier that was in Josh's community that jumped on a call Zoom with me, literally 30 minutes before we started. And she said, what do I do? Josh wants me to do all this personal branding stuff, and I don't think I'm ready for it. And I told him, I promise you, Josh is going to tell you the same thing. Go get a student case study that you're positioning yourself as, while you're being very transparent with them that you're new in the market. This is the end goal that you have, is to build a case study. So throw your beta up and get maybe 2 or 3 case studies if you want to, by being honest and upfront and saying you're trying to build a case study. And then when you do go to the market, you're a lot more comfortable, your team's comfortable, you're comfortable, your offers are more clean and clear. So the launch strategy is different than your first go-to-market strategy after you've proven an offer, okay? It's a 2-step process, and I'm sure Josh will agree with me on this as well.
100%, right? I'm kind of speaking to the assumption you've got an agency, you've already got some momentum. It's like, how do we take things to the next level? If you're just getting started, exactly what Paulson said, first handful of clients, come up with a hypothesis and make all of your effort around proving the hypothesis. Get some clients, whether they're paying you or not, you should get paid something at least to prove the concept, and do the work, right? Validate that what you're doing is going to have a net positive result. And then you can go to market, because you're not lying, or you're not making something up. You're saying, look, here's what I did for this other company, and here's what I think I can do for you in this space. So good questions. I think that's super helpful, because I know we're all on a spectrum here, right? And when I talk about the cold outreach formula, we'll be talking a lot about some of those strategies you can use early on to get attention, to get some responses, and to get some momentum early in your agency journey. So kind of bullet pointing this out for you guys and then kind of making this as practical as possible. Landing clients on a consistent basis. We need the CRM. We need high level filled with prospect data, right? Names, phone numbers, email addresses, ideally the owners of the types of businesses we want to work with. The one distinction we found, at least in our agency side, is that the niche isn't necessarily enough. You want to have the niche within your niche. So if you're working, let's just say with pool build companies, right? It's not all pool build companies that you probably want to be focused on from a prospecting perspective. It's probably the pool build companies that do over $1 million per year, that are installing 12 pools a year, that they have a team, that have some infrastructure in place because they have probably the financial wherewithal to pay for your services and the structure to be a good fit long term. So we want to fill our database high level with those prospects. From there, we want to have a cold outreach on ramp. And so for me, this isn't like, hey, want to do business? We want to send like value added messages to get those prospects to know, like, trust us, to kind of imply an opt-in so we can invite them to webinars. We can drop case studies and things on them. We're going to be talking a lot about this in the cold outreach formula. We want the opt-in funnel, the place for them to opt in, which is where we've got our lead magnet, the book, the guide, the case study, whatever we want to put out there. We need the appointment funnel, the calendar system where they can schedule in, a tight sales process, and then ongoing content development, right? I think most of this stuff, if you're establishing your business, you've got a list, you're doing some cold outreach, you've got a funnel at some level, but there has to be ongoing gasoline for the vehicle, right? And that's where doing webinars on a monthly basis, which we'll talk about more on the client attraction method, doing case studies on a monthly basis, like featuring the clients that you work with that actually get good results, showing that you actually know what you're doing, you can generate a result. Featuring people on podcast interviews, being featured on podcast interviews. This is the gasoline that keeps this database activated and get those prospects that are interested to kind of raise their hand and come in at the bottom of the funnel. So I'm a big fan of monthly webinars and then podcasts and interviews. Give me a 1 in the comments if you're currently doing webinars and podcasts on a consistent basis. A 2 if you're not, and you know that you should, because I think that as we get into the client attraction method, I can really give you guys some structure around this that will make it a lot easier. Sean Tiberio, you are, I know you are, you're crushing it with that. So we talked about this funnel. Tomorrow, we're going to do the ultimate agency funnel and really walk you through all of the steps in between the opt-in, once they get the appointment scheduled, the hot lead follow-up, and kind of what that actually looks like. Paulson, am I good with time here, or am I going too deep into the woods on some of this stuff?
No, we're good. So typically these workshops go for about an hour and a half. Usually, Josh, last 15, 20 minutes is really open-ended discussion. So you've got another 15 minutes of content that you want to pound if you want to.
Perfect. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure I was timing accordingly.
We're good. We're moving pretty quickly here. Yeah.
So when it comes to filling the funnel, I'm going to break this down. When it comes to building the list, I think you want to join the National Association. To me, that's the best list that you can get. So when you think about getting a list, right, you could scrape it from D7 Lead Finder, which I think most agencies do. You can buy it from a quality list source like SIC Code or Coldlytics, or you can join the National Association. The reason I like joining a National Association, like using plumbing as an example, I could buy a list of plumbing companies, and there's about 80,000 plumbing companies in the United States. But no matter what list you buy, there's always quality issues, right? Are they still in business? How much revenue do they actually do? Do I have an appropriate email address and the name of the owner? A lot of times that's like very, very random and very inconsistent. When you join the National Association of whatever, plumbing contractors, you know that they're paying dues to be part of that group. You know that they're probably still in business if that's the case. You're going to get the name of the owner. You might not get the email, but at least you've got the phone number and you can use other tools to reverse engineer that email address. But more important than any of that is that you can draft on affinity, right? You can say, hey, look, I'm reaching out because I'm a fellow member of the National Plumbing Association, right? You know that they've got events, and so you can be at those events or plan to be at those events, exhibit, look for opportunities to speak. To me, this is one of the best shortcuts you can do in your niche-focused SaaS or agency, like don't be an outsider here on the outside. Like, hey, I'm just trying to fish in the pool, but I'm an outsider. Join the National Association. It'll cost you a couple $100, and now you're part of the group, right? And you can speak to that when you call them. You can speak to that when you email them, and you can start to become known because they'll see you in the groups and things like that. Give me a one in the comments if that makes sense, if that resonates. Kind of like as we fill our list, we want good quality, and we want people that we can actually know we're in business, know who the owner is, and we want to be able to draft on affinity if at all possible.
Yeah, also the other thing I would say in addition is you have to go where your niche is hanging out in, right? Some industries may not have a national association.
Right.
Some, they just have a Facebook group. Some, they have a local area, a local group that they meet every day, you know, things like that. You have to play to the trenches of how your industry is structured. Some people are just relevant on LinkedIn, and there are LinkedIn groups, believe it or not, right?
Yep.
So really play to the sandbox where your industry is hanging out in.
100%. So filling the funnel, we want that list. We want to do some cold outreach. I'm going to be going deeper on this, but really what I found is list quality for your cold outreach is mission critical. Outside of the National Association, I really like Coldlytics because it's a list you can select. And then there's a researcher on the back end that figures out who the actual owner is and what their main email address is. We want to reach out in a sequence. So we don't want to just drop one email. We want to have a sequence that we send, and through high level, we can set up some automation so that if they open the email, if they reply to the email, we can move them in our pipeline and kind of prioritize those that are most interested at that moment in time. And most importantly, with cold outreach, in my mind, you're not looking for the cold message to book an appointment. You're looking for the cold message to start a conversation, to develop a little bit of relationship. And so we want to send a couple of messages so they know who we are and know that we've got some value to bring to the table in the industry. And then we want to transition them to nurture, right? Nurture being, now we've got somebody that we can send our podcast interviews to. Now we've got somebody we can invite to our webinars. Now we've got somebody we can drop our value-added content on. So it's a big difference in kind of this philosophy of cold outreach, you know, leading with value and kind of moving to long-term nurture, thinking, hey, I'm going to message these guys over months and months, not I'm going to send 2 blasts and expect for my calendar to be full.
And that's a clear point, Josh, because the popular idea right now is, let me pound my list and say, hey, I'll bring you 15, 20 new clients next week, guaranteed, book an appointment. That's kind of the style that's been going around in digital marketing for at least 2 years now.
Yep. I'm not a huge fan of that for a couple of reasons, which I'm glad to talk about if you want. But I think my thought process is, let's build value in advance. Let's develop relationships. And over time, it really works well. We also want to be doing proactive marketing for ourselves, right? We don't want to just sell people marketing. We want to be eating our own dog food. So running Google ads, you know, whatever niche you're in, you can get pretty specific, right? You can actually be showing up where someone's looking for plumbing marketing, internet marketing for plumbers, how to get ranked for my plumbing business on Google. You wouldn't think there's search for that, but there is, right? And that's at the very bottom of the buying cycle, right? If they're searching for what you do, you want to spend a couple dollars to come up for that. SEO, right? Actually thinking about the keywords your customers are typing and engineering your website, engineering your content to come up for those. We actually get a lot of traffic from organic search for people looking for plumbing marketing, which you would think plumbing is such a small niche. There's not that much search volume for it, but there is, and there's a long tail of keywords. So think about that as an angle. Facebook ads works really well, right? And you know, it has to be done right. But if you've got your list of prospects, right, and you've kind of vetted that out, you can also develop a similar list on Facebook that you're targeting, right? And you can put that same content. And what I found works well is, yes, we want to direct response advertise. Hey, download my cheat sheet. Hey, check out my checklist, register for my upcoming webinar. But we also want to retarget everybody that is on our list already, everybody that has expressed some level of interest by clicking on one of our ads, and retarget not just the next ad, but retarget the content, right? If you've got a great webinar, put that up natively on Facebook and let them see it. If you've got a great interview with a client where you're talking with them about where they were and where they are today and what you did to get them better results, get that content in front of them. You're going to be able to get consumption of your content, not just via email, because fewer and fewer people are opening their email, but they're hanging out on Facebook. They're hanging out on LinkedIn. And so don't just direct response advertise. Also use it as a mechanism to force feed your content, if that makes any sense. Direct mail, Dream 100. I'm a big fan of Dream 100. So you can't direct mail the entire industry, but I think, choose 100 really ideal prospects within your niche and put something valuable in their hands physically, right? That we're all getting emails, we're all getting text messages, we're all getting cold calls. But if you think about it, we're not getting nearly as much physical stuff in the mail. So if you can create a book, if you can create a sales letter, if you can put something interesting to capture their attention in the mail, at least to like a Dream 100 list, that can work really well. Obviously, follow it up with something in the mail, an email, and a phone call, drop it on a pipeline and work it like you would like an interested prospect. We find that works really well, whittling prospects down that pipeline. Also, I see you leaning in with something to say.
Yeah. I have one suggestion for those of you who's not ready to write a book tomorrow. You ready? There are already books that exist in your industry. Buy it and gift it to the client and move on.
There you go.
Okay, I did that in dentistry, left and right. The best or two best of the, dental marketing books that are there. Obviously, not the ones that another marketer already wrote. I would look at.
Yeah, don't send your competitor's book, but
yeah, exactly. But I would literally buy a book that one of the big prominent dental authorities wrote, and I would say I found this book very valuable. It's a bit on the clinical side. There's a good amount of information on the business side. I just wanted to gift this over to you because you seem like a high performer like myself in the industry. And that's literally how I would start the conversation. So it's a good temporary band-aid solution as you write your own content.
I love that. Yeah, great hack, right? Don't feel like you have to write your own book, get it published. There's a period of time that takes, regardless of how much you shortcut the process. Send another good book, right? Send a mousetrap, send some like bulky mail. I know that's old school, going back to Chet Holmes and like last generation, but it still works extremely well, even in today's environment. Oops. And then developing your authority. Some key things you want to do to develop your authority. And we'll be getting more and more into this over the next couple of days. Have a core presentation set up. So if you think about like having the opportunity to speak in front of your ideal prospects in whatever vertical you're in, what would you say? Like, what would you bring to the table that would be informational and value add? I think you need to have like at least one main presentation, not a sales presentation, but like a positioning presentation, the 5 key things that every plumbing or HVAC company should be doing to maximize their lead flow via the internet, or whatever it is, right? And have 5 key bullets on that given the opportunity, you could stand up, you could present, you could do a webinar on, you could turn into a white paper, you could turn into content. That's where I started. It was like a core presentation that turned into a lead magnet, that turned into a book, that turned into all the positioning that we use for our agency in the niche. Monthly webinars. I'll talk more about this on day 4, but it could be a 10-minute tactic, right? You could literally show up once a month, have like a little 10-minute thing. There's so many benefits to running webinars, live webinars, where you have to force yourself to create live content because when you do a webinar, you get an email about it. You get an opportunity to email about it. Hey, this is coming up. That creates top of mind awareness in your list. It forces you to create the content, which means you record it and you can load it on YouTube. You can load it on social media. It also gives you the opportunity to syndicate it out after the fact, right? Get it up on YouTube, turn it into a blog post, which becomes organic SEO. Strong client case studies. Obviously, you want to start with one, but over time, you want to have a methodology where you're taking clients. Your goal, I think, with every client is to turn that client into a case study client, where you did such great work that you can point to, hey, here's where they were, here's where they are now. And they would gladly jump on a Zoom session with you to say, hey, Paulson, yeah, I hired Josh and this is what he did and this is the results that we got and this is how my life is better. Give me a 1 in comments if you feel like that should be a goal for you. Like, it's not going to happen with every client, but for every client to have such a great experience and such a like a true transformation that they could be featured as a case study, which obviously gives you value-added content and obviously positions you as the expert in the space, builds the confidence in everything that you're doing. Have your book published on Amazon. There's an easy way and a hard way to do this, right? Like you could buy somebody else's book, or you could just create a book without overthinking it. I think a lot of people, when we think about books, it's like, oh, I got to write this book and I got to have the outline. It's going to take me 5 years. Like 99% of people never read the book, especially this book, like this plumbing and HVAC internet marketing book. I probably sent this out to 10, 20,000 plumbing and HVAC companies. My guess would be most people kind of look at the cover, they read the first chapter, they read the last chapter. There's actually some statistics that about 97% of books never get read. So what I would suggest is don't feel like this has to be the perfect book, right? Get a book done, make a nice cover for it, and get it into existence, right? You're going to have great authority that comes as a function of that. And then podcast and success interviews. So for me, podcast is one format is you're coming on and you're sharing value. Usually that's for me, my presentations, my webinars get turned into audio podcasts. That's one format. That's you're giving valuable information. The other format is success interviews. And I'm a big fan of this, whether they're a client of yours or just somebody that's doing great work in the industry. If you did a monthly interview with somebody in the space and you just had a couple of questions, hey, tell me about what you're doing, what's working best for you today, how have you gotten so much growth, what are some tips and tactics you would share for other plumbing companies that are looking to get better results with their business. If you did one interview like that per month, you would become known in the industry because there's not a lot of people putting value-added interviews and content online. And especially if you know how to syndicate it, like if you know how to set that up, do it live on YouTube, do it live on Zoom, have it hit the social profiles immediately, and then syndicate it out and email it out to your database, share it with the industry groups. These like 5 basic authority development tactics can absolutely make you the unquestioned expert in just about any industry you might want to pursue.
Yeah, just to add a small point here, Josh, is some people get intimidated by content building. Like anybody else feel intimidated? Give me a 1 if you feel intimidated by content building. So the key to content building, to feel comfortable about it, is to plan it out ahead of time, right? So next week, whatever you're going to talk about, you want to kind of just list it out and just have it ready, because what your mind does is starts priming against that topic, right? And then when you marry that with trendy topics, right, you have to really focus on the trendy topics of what's happening in the industry. For example, what's the award show where 2 actors like slapped each other on public
the Oscar
stage?
slap. The Oscar slap. The
Oscar slap, right? When that happened, if you're in the event management space, you should be leveraging that weird thing that happened as part of your planning. Hey, if something violent happens on stage, here's how you handle it as an event manager. And if you're running Facebook ads to an event management position, how do you think you'll get engagement? Probably because they know it's cheesy, but they appreciate the cheesiness. Number 2, psychologically, it positions you as the authority. So look out for regulatory changes. Look out for brand new news that's happening. Look out for business models that are changing. Look out for new authorities that come in. Like it was so easy to crucify little third parties that would come compete with Invisalign when I was in dentistry. Oh, this company is doing a unworthy version of Invisalign, right? So you would always pound them with these random funny marketing messages that also gives you a lot of content. So don't be afraid of content planning. It's something that you will dive into as you do the work of content planning, and I promise you won't run out of content. Okay, just wanted to add that on for a lot of you that are looking at this whole suggestion as an intimidating factor. Okay.
100%. Great tip. And we're all students of the game on this, whether you're watching it live or watching it after the fact that you're watching this tells me you're a student of the game, right? So you probably read the podcast. I mean, you read the blogs that are popular in the industry. You're in the know on what's happening. Just take whatever it is specific to online marketing or SaaS and apply it to your niche. right? Because nobody's doing that. Like, well, I think the other thing that really helped me around content creation was there's a great book called The Content Rules. And what they found was this lurker rule that only about 3% of businesses actually create content. 97% are either consuming the content or commenting on content. And so if only 3% create content and you're in a niche talking about something as specific as online marketing, all you have to do is create content and you're going to stand out. You're going to become known. So don't let like you get in your own head and be like, I don't have anything relevant to say, or I don't know what I would do this content on. Pay attention to what's going on in the industry and just apply it to your vertical. Looks like Dallas has your hand up. Dallas, you want to unmute for a sec?
Hey, yeah. So you're talking about the email. I love the concept of taking your content, emailing it out. One thing that I'm not an expert on at all is getting the email to actually get delivered. And so, like, if you've got a bigger list, what are you doing to make sure that these emails actually go out? Because like what we're doing right now with our cold outreach, we've got like all these different accounts. We're sending out like 50, 60 emails a day from each account. But like, I want to be able to send out a podcast to 1,000 people, right? Like, what are some technical aspects of that I need to make sure we do right?
So, go through the process of setting up your domain, setting up your mailgun, making sure everything's properly configured in high level. I would say if you're going to use one of those other tools, like use it in advance to kind of shake the bushes and get the people that opt out or mark it as spam, and then move the clean list into high level. I've got 30,000 plus people on my database in plumbing that we email out to every time we do a webinar a couple times, and we don't have any issues with deliverability. So I think it's just a function of making sure that you set it up right. And I did a masterclass with Joe Hebshaw on this topic. Paul, anything you want to add, like on how to structure your mailgun settings or anything technical on that front?
Not much of a tech guy, but I do know that if it smells and tastes like an advertisement, the systems are going to treat it like an advertisement. That's about what I know. Christian Rushman, Joe, Quentin Newman now has a solution around this, but it's really just protecting your domain and making sure you're actually priming them just in general. And at massive volumes, you're going to run into that problem. Like everybody will run into that problem as businesses. But it's a constant, you need to have a systems person in the agency that just handles all the tech stuff. And I'm a big proponent of it. And it should be one of those KPIs that they would really nurture and figure out is deliverability, right? But, it just depends on your setup, the type of messages, type of subject line. I know that subject lines alone, like if you just use lowercase, it's a completely different experience versus any capitalized letters on it. Like even to that granular detail, there are strategies.
So you're sending out 30,000 emails through High Level and Mailgun.
Yes.
I'm sending out close to 100,000 easily with just High Level alone. Yeah.
Okay. I'm scared to death of it getting, blacklisted and stuff and having to start all over. So that's okay.
Tread lightly, but it can be done, right? It can be done if it's a clean list and the legitimate, like what you don't want to do is scrape a list from D7 Lead Finder and drop 10,000 emails into your Go High Level account. That is mainly going to be not delivered. It's going to be, bounce backs, which is going to flag Mailgun and shut you down almost instantaneously. But if you've got a clean verified list and they're actually in the niche that you're speaking to, you can be pretty confident that your messages will get out, right? And then you just got to, monitor how many of them are, flagging you for spam, right? And I think if you're adding value in advance with your content, at least most of the time, less and less people are going to be like, okay, this was just an unsolicited message, go pound sand. And that's why I think the cold outreach on-ramp makes a lot of sense. Like you send a couple of introduction messages and you ask for permission. Hey, look, I've got this, podcast that I run. Is it okay with you if I send you these interviews or things like that? And even if they don't say no, or that, you don't force them to opt in necessarily, but they haven't said no and they haven't unsubscribed. I think it's worked well for us to say, okay, let's treat this as like an implied opt-in that we can message to.
Okay. Is that masterclass you did with Joe? Is that on your Facebook group, or I must have missed that one?
It's on YouTube publicly.
Okay.
It's also in the high level community. He's a ninja with this stuff. So he really explains like how he uses Mail Genius and spot checks the domains and spot checks. It can be your domain settings. It could also be like the message that you write, the subject line, the from email address. There's like a couple of very basic things you want to check every time you send an email to improve your deliverability on Mail Genius. And you're looking for like a 98% most of the time.
Okay.
And Dallas, there's a few people that handle this topic.
Well,
it's not just Joe. Just FYI. There's Christian Rushman. There's Quentin Newman. I don't know if it's Nathan Shearer, but there's a few other people that also handle and tackle with their own expertise as well, depending on the volume of the industry. Some people specialize in just medical on this, right? Some people focus on a grand scheme of LinkedIn and scraped lists and stuff like that. So there are several authorities you can reach out to in the space.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Any other questions or feedback here as we start to wrap up day one of the client attraction workshop?
Yeah, I think we're good to go, Josh. Let's see here. I'm just going through the streaming. A ton of people, their gears are turning, and they're just thinking of new ways to do or little tweaks that they got to do. So maybe put some comments down on some of the things that you're going to implement just based on the first hour of what we're sharing here.
That would be great. Yeah, if you have an insight, put it in there. If you got value, like if you're on here, I know not all of us like to publish and not all of us like to, like if you got value, put hashtag value in the comments just to telegraph to the rest of the community. This was a useful session. It had some good things that you're going to be able to take away and implement. So day one, we're kind of laying the foundation here with the client attraction game plan, kind of looking at the big picture. Tomorrow, you're going to want to tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 o'clock Central time. We're going to be unpacking the ultimate agency funnel, right? I talked about this from a super high level. Tomorrow, I'm going to be like showing you the landing pages, the sequences, kind of how we stitch everything together, how we drop it onto a pipeline. This is something you're absolutely going to need and want to model in your agencies. And then tomorrow we've got the day after that, we got the cold outreach formula and then the client attraction method. So I do see a couple of extra questions. I'm happy to answer them. Paulson, are we okay to answer a couple of these questions?
Yeah, so we've got about 15 minutes for Q&A,
Okay.
and then we'll wrap up and talk about how people can work with you, Josh, and your Facebook group and some of the offers you have as we get set up for day two. So let's go with Will Salinas and then Ishan. So let's go with Will first.
Oh, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, buddy.
Right, awesome. Josh, great to talk to you, man. I mean, I've been following you for quite a few months now. My question is really based on landing clients. I have tried to land clients through my funnel, booking appointments, with qualified entrepreneurs, right? But the thing is, I get a lot of, just at least 40 to 60% of objections based on, they aren't ready yet, or probably they don't have the money, or they probably, they don't see me as the authority just yet. I'm on the finance niche on credit repair, consulting and coaching.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't feel like I'm not making progress towards landing new clients,
Yeah, I think, do you have a couple of clients in credit repair that you're working with now that you can show? Have you documented a case study with them and kind of gotten their endorsement? Hey, here's what Will did for me. Here's the results that I got with Will.
Well, I got different niches when I started 8 months ago, because I have 8 months in the market. But right now I want to get the first really credit repair case study to actually promote it, as this case study work with this process, and it can work for you also. So I need that case study, based on my niche first, and then I can promote it. But I have testimonials from similar niches.
So that's going to be helpful, at least to get the first go. I think kind of like we said earlier in the process, right? I think where people get tripped up is they choose a niche and they're like, okay, I'm going to go and establish my authority, right? I'm going to say, here's how you do it and here's what I've done, but they haven't done it yet. So like, Will, my suggestion to you is like, go hat in hand to a bunch of credit repair companies and say, hey, look, I've worked in finance for all this time. Here's a couple of testimonials. I want to prove my value. Let's make you a case study. Like that's your initial sale, is to sell somebody on being your beta or your case study client. I see Paulson, you unmuted.
Oh yeah. I mean, just because the client's nice to you doesn't mean it's going to be a strong case study.
Right.
Right? Like I had dental practices, they just love me for who I am. They're like, you know what? He's not a crooked guy. I like him. I'm just going to help him out. Let me just endorse him. But that doesn't move the needle or build the confidence for another practice to be able to say, oh, I can trust him the same way. It almost seems like a play, like, oh, they're friends, right? So when Josh says have a strong case study, there's a lot of depth behind it where somebody can look at the case study at a financial level and say, Will took this credit repair company at 30 grand or so, and he moved them up to 100 grand a month, and he got their XYZ people involved, and this is exactly what he did, whether he's a nice guy or not. So there needs to be some substance for them to really say, okay, Will, let me pay you $24,000 this year because you're charging me $2,000 a month. Like just because there's similarities in the industry of somebody saying yes, it's working, blah blah blah. It cannot be just like so. What's the word? Just it cannot be just wishy-washy. They need to be able to call them. That client better be able to jump on a quick call for you if it all comes down to it, right? And that's how strong you want those case studies. Does that help? Does that make a lot of sense? Because some people think they've got proof in the pudding and it's false expectations just because somebody said something nice about their business. Oh, Will's a nice guy. Like, yeah, that's cool, but how am I going to drop 30 grand on him today? Like, I can't just yet. Does that make sense?
Right. I just came to my mind that I just wanted to do some webinars, but I'm currently, just don't pull the trigger just yet because I think that based on my knowledge, on that niche, it doesn't me get motivated enough to start a workshop like this, start a webinar, start a live event, to promote for free what I do and what I do on a daily basis, just to attract more clients. And that's kind of the, roadblock I have right now.
Yeah, I think, you put you'd be much better served to pick like 10 prospects a day in the credit repair space. Ask for the opportunity to connect with them, learn more about the business, learn about some of their challenges, and start to understand the niche, and then like find that case study client and build that, and then do the rest of it.
Cool. Yeah, I will. And I will, just do something, strategize a workshop or a live event for free, in order to actually get paid. If I'm providing value for free a lot, like you, Josh, I think like more people are going to see the value I do for free, and they will get, they will pay me for a paid event, you know what I mean? Or for a paid service.
Focus on getting the case study client before you focus a lot of time on doing workshops, right? You don't have enough experience or enough wins for anybody to be like, hey, Will, I'm glad you gave me all that value. Like, go prove your value, get some wins for clients, then start to build workshops based on tangible results, not just on theory, right? I think if you go out and start doing webinars and free events, nobody has any context and you don't have enough value to bring yet.
Yeah.
You got a baby step before you start to run. And right now you need a baby step with a couple of actually win for.
For sure. Thanks, Josh.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for being here.
Let's go with Ishan.
No. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm asking about the niche. If my niche is so micro, but the market is not that much in my country. But it has a good market throughout other countries internationally. So I should stick with it or have to change.
I would need more context there. Like when you say it's micro, um, is
For
there
example,
enough of them? Do they make
no, no, no.
money?
My niche is not, the industry is not that much in my local area, but it's internationally has a big market.
What
So I
what
should stick with
industry
it.
what industry are you in? What's the industry?
I'm just starting and I am targeting for vegan niche,
For what?
plant-based, vegan niche,
I don't
vegan
follow.
e-commerce.
So vegan? Did you say vegan?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So is that food or restaurants or catering or what's the?
It's products, e-commerce product, consumable, not food. It's about beauty and clothing products. Yeah,
Yeah, so you
these
said
are.
e-commerce product, you said?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so your industry is vegan oriented products in the
Yeah, yeah.
e-commerce space?
Yes.
Okay, how many e-commerce providers have you spoken to?
I'm just starting out, but the market is not in my local area.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
what's your
that's why.
question around the industry?
Should I stick with it or have to go?
Yeah, I mean, I would wait for the market to speak to you. Like the market has to tell you it's not us, right? You have to have enough blast out there, enough messaging out there where you either confirm your offer or you don't confirm and don't live on the offer. If it doesn't work out, you move on to the next thing, right? So I would say the science project has to take place. We can sit here theoretically make comments, but it's not going to really help you.
Yeah, kind of piggyback on that. I like the idea of choosing a hypothetical niche and doing some work behind that niche. Like start reaching out, start getting appointments, and not sales appointments. At the beginning, you don't have anything to sell. Like you're getting appointments with prospects in that niche to understand their needs, to understand how the business operates, to kind of float an idea by them and to see if they're interested, right? And until you've got 3 or 4 clients in any given vertical, you have to be open to, inbound opportunities and other things. So I'm all about choosing a niche, positioning yourself as the expert and going all in. But until you get like 3 to 5 clients where you've won, you have to be open to other opportunities as well. So I don't think you're in a place to lock down the vegan niche. I'm not saying not to do the vegan niche, but let's go like make some calls, let's get some appointments, and let's see if it's viable for you or not.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go with Himanshu.
Yeah, hey Josh, Himanshu again.
Hey man.
So Josh, regarding the webinar about setting up the authority, I just wanted to confirm if you want to go us with, to go out to get more reach for this webinar, like you suggested in the book itself, to go, to email them prior for the webinar, like, communicating them with about the event dates and a lot of other things. So do you want us to go ahead with the Facebook ads or something like that to, to outreach more people and cold emailing bulk people, just to get them on this webinar to get more appointment? Please let me know about that.
Yeah, so I'd say you want to use all of the opportunities at your disposal, right? So if you've got an email list, you're emailing them about it. If you're part of an association and they let you post in the group, post there about it. No reason you can't run some Facebook ads to your targeted audience. Hey, I got the webinar coming up on this date at this time. Click here to register. I find, ads to a webinar is a big ask in today's market. You'd be better served to run ads to a lead magnet that's really low friction, and then start, once they've opted in, warm them up and then invite them to a webinar after. So I could get more technical on that when we're talking about the client attraction method on Friday.
Great. Thanks a lot for your time, Josh. Thanks for that, Paulson. That was an amazing value for me.
Good.
And I'm sure for a lot of us. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
and
man.
tomorrow we're gonna go diving into it even deeper. I'm gonna play the BSL card while Josh plays the funnel card. Okay, we're gonna differentiate the two for you. I see a few familiar faces in here that was at the SaaSpreneur Mastermind. So also, Josh, if you want to wrap this up, and just give us an idea of what we should already implement. What are the takeaways that we should have today? Like, what are the action items? Yeah.
your action items for today are really start to think about positioning yourself differently in your niche. So take off the I'm going to chase people down hat and think about how can I become a person of authority and get people to come to me. I would think what you want to do is figure out what lead magnet you're going to lead with, like what lead magnet can you put out that would be interesting, and then what do you need to put in place from your funnel. I talked about high level, kind of the appointment funnel, the opt-in, and the hot lead follow-up. What's the missing piece for you right now in your agency, in your client acquisition strategy that you can put in place to kind of streamline the process and reduce the friction?
Yeah, and for all of you that are watching, thank you for that, Josh. I want to get an idea of, I want to understand you marketers, how creative you are. On the comments, okay? Tell us what your lead magnet's going to be. Is it a checklist? What kind of downloadable are you going to do? Or is it an article? Is it a blog? Are you going to create a 5-minute video? Comment down on what your actual lead magnet medium is going to be, even if it's at a baseline level, something that you're thinking about. So that way the entire community gets an idea or inspiration about it. Some of you guys, you like podcasts. Some of you guys doing, downloadable PowerPoints. What is an actual lead magnet that you're considering? And then what we will do is have Josh kind of go over day 2 of what we can expect tomorrow, and we can do a closeout. Okay, I see the comments coming in, so thank you for that.
Thanks for the comments, guys.
Josh, what are your favorite lead magnets that you're using right now in the plumbing space?
My favorite lead magnet is the book, but again, that's probably a little bit harder to publish, but it's more high value, right? Like this is a lead magnet. Everybody perceives the value of a book, and it's something you can drop physically that makes you different than all of the other marketers, right? Because most marketers are just giving digital files. So that's why I like a book best. Second to that would be a checklist, something that they can look at and be like, okay, this is easy to consume, 5 minutes or less, and they can ascertain some level of value. Those are my 2 favorites, and that seem to work best in our niche.
Yeah. And the way my favorite back in 2014-15 while I ran the dental agency is Josh spoke a little briefly about this, and I don't know how many of you got this, okay? Sub-niching is a really specific way to go into a market versus just open niche, especially saturated markets, right? Dentistry is really saturated. So you know what I did? I positioned myself as the Invisalign guy on Facebook ads. That's all I focused on. So guess what? My lead magnets were, here's the 5 ways to market Invisalign. Here's the 10 things you should know about Invisalign marketing. Here's the staff you have to have about Invisalign. Here's how you compete on Invisalign. Here's how you get Invisalign testimonials. Literally, I focused on this procedure and became a procedure authority. And I've seen other agencies do the same thing where they became full arch authorities. They become implant authorities. So if you're in a crowded space, right? A lot of you that are looking at me and you're in real estate, focus on investor real estate or develop land developers or new builder real estate, or figure out a sub niche. And that's also a really clever way to get focused in on those lead magnet ideas and position your branding that way. Doesn't mean that's where you're going to stay as an agency. That's just the stepping stone before you go into the next sub niche, before you capture another subsector within that entire industry. Okay, cool. Josh, anything to add on to that?
No, I think that's a great point, right? Find the niche within the niche that you can become the expert in. Go high end, right? Like he wasn't going after like the dental cleaning expert status. He was going after dental implants or Invisalign. Like the higher transaction services in your niche is always going to play best. So I think in putting a nice little bow on today, we talked about the client acquisition game plan, the client attraction game plan. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the ultimate agency funnel. So if you're excited for that, be sure to block out tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central time. Look at your funnel as it sits today, right? Ideally, like what do you have? Is there a lead magnet? Is there an appointment funnel? Is there a hot lead follow-up? What do the sequences look like? Spend some time evaluating what the current setup is so that as I outline the ultimate agency funnel, you have something to compare it to.
Absolutely, Josh. So Anybody excited about tomorrow? Give me a 1 and we'll get going. Josh, also, I know you're not a salesy guy, so I got to remind you to talk about yourself. How can people find you? Where's your Facebook groups? You know, what are the things that you have for agency owners? If you don't mind, just elaborating a little bit on how you work with agency owners as well.
So I would say that the best place to get more information, a couple of people referenced my book, The 7-Figure Agency Roadmap. If you don't have it, you can look it up on Amazon, or you can go to 7figureagency.com/book. There you can, get the free plus shipping option, which is basically cheaper than Amazon. I'll ship you the book, and you'll get access to my world and some additional details. I think that's the best entry point. Just go to 7figureagency.com/book, and we'd love to help support you as you grow and scale your agency.
Okay, that's a wrap, folks. So if you want to be notified on tomorrow's sessions, go to gohighlevel.com/virtual workshop and you'll be notified. And you get I think a 1-day notification, an hour notification, 10-minute and 5-minute. So looking forward to seeing a lot of you tomorrow. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.